AI agents are the next revolution in AI. So in the following video, we are going to see what AI agents are, what are the components of that, and how to build one without writing a single line of code. All right, so the first thing for us is to start by defining what are AI agents. Down here, I created a quick example with the difference between a normal LLM workflow and an AI agent workflow. The main characteristic of a normal LLM workflow is that it's static. Here, you can say, please create a personalized message on prospect while keeping in mind the concept of our product, for example. Meanwhile, the agent is capable of reasoning and performing different actions in order to perform the goal. So agent could also have a bigger goal that you give them, such as write me this blog post on a random topic, and with that the agent starts to perform different kinds of actions in order to accomplish the end results. In regards to the actual component of the agents, there are four main components. First off is the planning part. Agents are capable of reasoning, so they are able to break down a complex goal into smaller chunks and understand what they need to do next. The second point, which for me is the most important one, is the actual capability of using different tools. Tools are different API calls or different software that LLM can use in order to gather information or perform a specific subset of action. So for example, if we want to send a message, we can do that through a tool. If we want to perform a research, we can do that through a tool. Tools are essentially the way the LLM can communicate with the external world. The next component is memory. So agents can be equipped with special knowledge. If you have first-party data that is only available to you, you can add that within the agent and you are able to create something that is personalized to you, unique, and different in terms of outputs and results compared to any other agents, any other LLM out there. The last component is the action part. The ability to actually use these kind of tools that we mentioned is the last component. Now, what we are going to see is how to build an AI agent without coding and what are the different components of that. We will use RelevanceAI for that, and we will do that all without writing a single line of code. So prior to start, I want to establish this kind of 6-step framework that we're going to use to correctly build the agent. So we're going to start with the planning phase where we actually define the goal of the agents and define the actual task that the agents needs to do. Then we're going to start with the building phase. First, building out the tools and then configuring the agent. And then finally, we have the iteration phase where we actually test the agent and then refine the agents in order to improve that. And then we go back to the part where we create the tools or refine the tools and the process goes further on. So starting off, the goal is to define what the agent should do. In our case, we have a specific use case that we want to use, and the use case is the following. We want to make sure that the agent is able to send personalized message every time we download one of lead magnets. The second step here is defining the tasks. So in order to define the task, we focus on researching the prospect LinkedIn, researching the prospect website, creating a personalized message and sending the actual message. So we can also think about this task as the different tools for the agents and that the agent can work on. So then we will start with the actual tool building. We are now inside Relevance, and the first thing that we are going to focus on is the actual tooling and the build out of the tools. The interface here is pretty simple, and the components are the agents, the tools, and the knowledge. So these are, first off, the agent, the main component, the tools is one of the different components, and the knowledge is the memory part of that. Here, what we can do is we can click on new, we can create this from scratch, and then here we have all the different steps that we need in order to create an actual tool. Our tools are pretty simple, and I will explain things as we go, so you can see that. But keep in mind that every kind of tools has these three components: a knowledge, a user input, so a URL, for example, or a research brief or something along those lines, and a set of tools that they are called. So we will start off with the website analysis first. in the website analysis, our user inputs are the website URL and then a context on the product and the service. So those are used, the context about the product and the service, about our product and service, is very important in order to make the research personalized to what we actually are selling. Otherwise, the research could be very general and we could not have a specific personalization that could be related to what we are actually selling. Then what we are doing here, this is a very simple two-step tool. So we extract the website content, using the website URL that we have here, and then we create a research brief. In the document that you saw and that you can download, you can find all the prompts, and you can also find the tools that you can download directly into Relevance if you want to use them. So this kind of prompts are able to create a specific research brief with the different things such as company info, potential challenges, opportunities, how we might help. So this is the first tool that we create. The second tool that we are going to create is a LinkedIn profile research. Again, the inputs are pretty simple here. What we just need is a LinkedIn profile URL. And what we will do over here is we will get a LinkedIn profile and then we will perform a research brief. So the research brief has a structure of the prompt very similar to the one that we defined before. So here we accurately scan the profile and then identify any potential angles of personalization that we can send out into the message. The third tool is actually the personalization aspect of the message. So here what we are going to do is we are gonna craft the message that we are using. And here the advantages using this is we just have a single LLM. And the one important thing that I want to mention here is that the advantage of everything into tooling format is that we can actually control the output of the various tools by modifying the prompt ourselves. Otherwise, the LLM could create, the agent could create prompts on their own and do this kind of operations in an automatic way. But the more we can control that, the better the results we can get out of that. So the inputs that we get over here are the website research brief and the LinkedIn brief. Then those are added into an LLM again. And then once they are added into a LLM, we create a personalized message. And stick around because we're gonna see how this works in just 2 minutes. I will show you the last part, which is the sending a message. So here, the thing that we have is just email address and email message. What we do over here is we craft a subject line directly over here, and then we send a Gmail all within Relevance. So all this process is done directly within Relevance. Now, you saw the 4 different tools, and the next step here is the actual configuration of the agent. In the configuration panel, we have different information and different things that we can get. So first off is general information about a name, description. Here we can also change the profile if we wanted to, as well as integration, so potential triggers that we can use to make the agent work. The most important things are these 2 components over here alongside the tools. So first off, the core instructions. So here we give some code instructions about the role as well as the different tasks that they need to perform. Here we define pretty clearly what are the different steps that they need to take for each process. Keep in mind that this needs to be updated depending on the kind of context and depending on what are the different processes. But the more you can establish a structure out of that, the better the results is going to be, because that is the actual same with how you are delegating a process to another person within the business. You are doing the process yourself first, then you are defining the process and then delegating that kind of process. Here we are doing the exact same thing. Then other than the task, another thing that we define here that is very, very important is the tool that the agent can use. The tool is the different things that we built before. And here we define those so that the agents could have a little bit of context on when to call each tool and when is the right time to call each tool. Given that it also has this step-by-step part, the calling is even simpler for this kind of agent. But as the agents gets more and more complicated, then the tooling or it needs to be explained, and yeah, needs to be explained. Here also, it's important to add any additional nodes to handle edge cases or any other task. The last component is the tooling, and everything is set to autorun, as you see over here. And this is done so that we don't need to stop the agent every time, ask for permission and stuff like that. In our case, we want the agent to run as autonomously as possible, so that is why we have everything right there. Now it's time to put the agent into the test and see how this actually works. So here what we will do is we will create a message like please research the following prospect and send a message. The mail that we are going to use is my personal one, so that we can test this out and making sure that the results is actually good and correct. So let's run this. So here's the actual example of the email that we sent out. This was just done without any kind of optimization. So as I mentioned before, one of the most important thing is the actual definition of the agent, and we are going to see possible action to refine the agent. As you can see over here, there were 3 steps performed in the background, and then we actually send the message. So all the 4 steps were sent, and then we received an update such as I research a prospect and send the following message. So that is the actual results that we get from there. Regarding the thing of refining and enhancing, what I did over here is I added a couple of ideas of things to fix and things to add. So idea here could be the subject line. So as you can see over here in the subject line, we have the quotation marks, which is something that we don't want, as well as the name, our name in the email is something that is not correct, as well as if the results on LinkedIn are not used, we can fix that and either improve the prompting or just focus on a single thing. So those are a couple of things, and then this is how this can be performed. So here there are 1,000 opportunities, as I mentioned. This can be either used to search the emails automatically by hooking this up to Apollo or any other email finding tool, adding inbox management to handle the responses, for example, adding additional context, give 5 examples. So all these things are things that can be added in order to improve the agent and improve the process for the agent. Now, on top of that, what I want to show you also is another use case here to craft message directly within the CRM. So this is where the automation comes in place, and the tool is really useful because we can use the API of the tool. So what we need to do here is we develop a trigger for make.com for our CRM. In our case, we use Airtable. So let me show you. This is the automation that we are going to use when a record is updated with the LinkedIn URL. If the domain is not Gmail, we run a script that automatically sends the information back to make.com. So the make.com workflow is something along the following, where we get the Airtable record, we get all the relevance information, and then we define our prompt over here. In the prompt here, we also added additional information. Do not send the emails, for example, and only output the personalized message, nothing else. So that in that way, we can send this message directly within the CRM, correct that if we wanted to, and add that. What we do next is we call the agent directly through make.com, directly using an API over here. And then we perform an action where we check for the status of the agent, and only when the process progress is complete, we go forward with the next action. We update the contact with the personalized message, and then we finalize the workflow. So as you can see here, was just a quick example, but there are a lot of possibilities to use the agent both on a UI form like the one that we showed over here, as well as in an automated way directly within different systems in your business. If you're interested in creating AI agent, feel free to reach out, and we can get an understanding of what is your actual task and how we can create that agents to make that happen. Other than that, that's it on me.